You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to talk about England in New Zealand for their two-match test series. But first, we're going to talk about balls. Today is the 13th of February. The 13th of February is the day before Valentine's Day, and that means it is International Shave Your Balls Day, according to the copy that we've received. Max, have you shaved your balls?
Affirmative. It is, of course, International Shave Your Balls Day, and it would be remiss of me not to use my Lawnmower 4.0, which I've received from Manscaped gratefully and used for the purpose it was intended. And, join 7 million men worldwide and get lucky this Valentine's Day. It might be a bit late to order it in time for Valentine's Day now, but it will make a good present for someone whoever you think is in need of some jungle taming. Yeah. And you can head to manscaped.com and use the code CricketPod to get 20% off and free shipping.
That's right, manscaped.com, 20% off. Use the code CricketPod in the show notes. Get yourself a Lawnmower 4.0. But yeah,
you'll have a smooth Valentine's Day.
You'll have it for next Valentine's Day, won't you? Or International Shave Your Balls Day, or whatever contrived day to shave your balls that Manscaped tell us we have to talk about. New Zealand v England. Ross, where do you want to go? Team news, first impressions. Why the fuck are they playing this series? What's the point?
There's a storm, Jack. That's what we need.
Cyclone.
Yes.
Yeah. Cyclone Gabrielle, I believe she's called. And she's caused a bit of havoc. So a few of the New Zealand players actually can't get to where they're playing at the moment. So they've grounded all domestic flights and people are literally driving there. But if you've seen the videos, it is a cyclone. If you don't know what a cyclone is, go and Google it. Really bad, windy and rainy weather.
Reverse hurricane?
No.
Something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's going to impact the game more than likely. So they think that at least the first day of play will be affected by the cyclone, and the preparation for both teams has been truncated because of it. So not only were Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes kind of saying that training's ultimately optional. We smashed Pakistan when we all had a virus, so we might as well not even try and prepare and we'll beat New Zealand. But yeah, training's been forced inside. So it's not ideal circumstances when you've got a couple of bowlers who really do need to be kind of getting back into their stride of things. Stuart Broad back into the squad and will be vying for his place. And he was quoted in an interview this week saying that, well, my place in the 11 should be assured, right? I was the leading wicket taker last summer. Just because I missed the tour to Pakistan for the birth of my daughter doesn't mean I should be left out the 11. So
he also said being dropped for the West Indies saved his career.
Yeah, well, lasting legacy of Strauss.
He says a lot of things. Sure. Jamieson's back for New Zealand as well. I'm looking forward to seeing that if we do get cricket. And both teams have named like a fairly strong 11 for a series which isn't in the World Test Chair. Why do they keep doing this? Like, what's going on between England and New Zealand that they keep playing these out of official tests? I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of that at some point. First test, interestingly, is day nighter, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I saw that Ollie Robinson wasn't happy with the ball.
Despite the fact he's really good in them.
Yeah. I think he was like, well, England are entertaining enough. We don't need to play cricket at night to be any more entertaining. That was the gist of what he said. It's annoying as well for us, isn't it? I think that's what we really need to talk about here. 1 a.m. starts. What the fuck? what?
That is bad.
Especially if there's a cyclone in town. What? Yeah. Anyway, there's no question I can ask about that. I'm just pointing out that 1 a.m. that's a sucky time to start a test match, especially when you could have started it at 10:30, and we could have watched some. What are you looking forward to in this series, Max?
I'm really looking forward to seeing BAZ ball under the lights. I don't care what Ollie Robinson says. I want to see some pink ball BAZ ball. Because, it's one of those, the thing about the pink ball is that you often get flurries of wickets quite quickly. When the lights come on, it starts zipping around, or it gets harder to, the conditions are changing and you have to adapt. And it can obviously benefit the ball. So maybe BAZ ball will once again prove itself to be really useful in day-nighters. It's destroyed Pakistan on a dead pitch.
Yep.
It's worked in England on a seeming, just a seeming minefield
Pitch.
against South Africa.
See that.
And it has
A
worked
green
on,
top.
and it's worked on normalish pitch against India. So now we're going to see it take on New Zealand on tracks where they historically bully people under the lights. And I'm looking forward to seeing its next incarnation.
Ross, any points from you that you would like to mention on this? We'll do predictions. There's a cyclone, so we don't really know how much
it starts with a 0.
Yeah. So what do you reckon?
So I think it's interesting that we've got obviously very different conditions, and England are trying to figure out who they're going to be picking in the Ashes. I know they kind of say we only take kind of one series at a time, but Ben Duckett as the opener is a question mark around him. I think he's demonstrated that he's very, very good in spinning conditions, but how is he going to fare against the likes of Jamieson? We saw his struggles in the ODI series against Nortje, who the bounce was an issue. So we'll see how he responds to that. It's a big test for him. Dan Lawrence back in the England side, or at least the England squad as well. And I thought actually he was. It was hard done by with injuries, and actually he's quite a selfless player. I think what we saw in a couple of things under the Joe Root regime was that he wasn't afraid to play the situation for the team and sacrifice what he needed to do. And I really like that about him. And then we've obviously got Matt Potts back in the line with Ollie Stone back in the squad as well after kind of the back stress fractures. So I think it's something to be excited about, I think, gents. But yeah, still question marks over this England side, regardless of how good we are.
Yeah, I think there's sort of two sides going in slightly different directions, aren't they? Sort of dovetailing slightly. You've got England on the up, looking at where they go from here, and New Zealand are sort of at the end of that cycle where they won the World Test Championship. Bolt's retired. Their sort of seeming lineup is aging a bit, and it's a kind of almost a transitional period, even though you look at some of the names in that side and they're all very familiar. So they're almost ageless, this New Zealand side, but perhaps going in a slightly different trajectory to England. So it'll be an interesting matchup from that point of view.
A question for you. I mean, like they're not completely meaningless tests. England they'll try and win. Both teams will try and win, and they can learn things. England really are on the up, as you say, Max. Do you think there's a chance they could be vying for a World Test Championship final spot in a couple of years' time? Or are they at some point going to crash back down to earth? And could that be now?
I think the difficulty England are going to have is the games they've got to play in the next couple of cycles. I think they've got a fairly tough-looking schedule. I think India away is in there somewhere, so it might be a bit tricky. But I think as a side, they've got every chance. Everything's going in the right direction. Obviously there are weaknesses, but they've got massive strength as well. And there's so much excitement with some of the guys coming through. The question is how England handle the inevitability of Anderson and Broad retiring, because it will happen in the next few years. And, will Archer be fit? Will Mark Wood still be able to play test matches regularly? And Ollie Robinson is sort of the mainstay there that you'll look to build that bowling lineup around. So I'm optimistic, but with a level of caution as always.
Very good. Ross, do you think England are going to be the greatest test team ever? So far it seems like they will be.
I think this is going to be a really
big Debbie Downer.
I think this is going to be a really tricky test series for them. Actually, I think the Kiwis were obliterated, is fair to say, by Johnny Bairstow. We are Johnny Bairstow-less at the moment, and I think that we're going to go. It's going to be a really tricky assignment.
We're Harry Brook full though.
We've got 3 minutes left, boys. So we need predictions: top runs, top bowler, top score. Fucking score. You know what I mean. I will go first. I think it will be 1-1 in the scores. I think that Kane Williamson will be top run scorer, and I think Jamieson will take the most wickets. Ross?
Cool. I think it's going to be 1-0. And I think...
To who?
Two.
No, you don't have to put me on the spot like that.
Yeah,
you
do. Yeah, you can just say 1-0. Right.
Okay. So I think
the bookies are playing out on one.
When I said 1-1, I said who to.
I reckon. Oh, I'll be Debbie Downer. I'll say it's going to be 1-0 to New Zealand. I think that Tom Blundell will take to captaincy and do better than he's done recently, and hit loads of runs. I think bowling wise, I just can't look past Jimmy Anderson. I always think Jimmy Anderson's going to take the most wickets, but there we go.
Max?
2-0 England, Ollie Robinson, Joe Root, BAZ.
Go on.
Yeah, cool. Right, a couple of questions from Twitter then to round off the show. Matt Carver says, I got 2 questions.
Ooh.
That's how he starts it. I like that.
Good
Will
for
England's
you.
all guns blazing way of batting in this World Cup come unstuck against the better teams with better bowling attacks? And secondly, does Mandana going for more than Root, Jackson, Adil Rashid show how big the WPL may be? Ross, you can answer the second one there about the WPL, and then Max, you can say whether England are going to win the World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely huge. I think, them going for more money is obviously domestic talent, and it's a different market that they're playing in, right on that situation. But the Women's Premier League is, as I said in my opening soliloquy on the part 2 of this show. This is game breaking or trailblazing and
game breaking.
I don't. Yeah, groundbreaking is what I'd really
groundbreaking. That's the one.
Game changing.
Game changing, groundbreaking, trailblazing. It's all of
There we
those
go.
things.
Max.
Yeah, I just want to add on
England-
that quickly as well. Is that you think
Answer Ross's
look
question. Go on.
look at different look at different women's sports. We just had in women's football like a world record transfer approach for Alessia Russo that was rejected, and that was £500,000, and that is not that much more. Yeah, that's not that much
Fucking
more.
hell, you couldn't buy Wimbledon players for that much.
Yeah, that's not that much more than what Mandana's being
Wimbledon
paid.
just sold a player for
with
£1
this
million.
tournament.
Yeah, obviously I support
Yeah.
Wimbledon, so that's why
Yeah.
Wimbledon just sold somebody to, a quote for the club website, the Middle East for £1 million, and that isn't. I don't know. Yeah, I'd have thought there'd be somebody in.
So it just shows you how much further this has brought women's cricket in comparison to, I guess, other women's sport, but in comparison to, the gulf between women's and men's as well. It's exciting. And on the England point, I think there is every chance that England could come unstuck. But again, what we've seen in the recent ODI seed is not England's strongest side. And when the likes of Bairstow and Root come back into that, I think there'll be a lot more about them. So I think they're still got to be one of the favourites.
Cool. We had a couple of other questions, but I think we've done them. So thanks to Shashwat and Fatty Army 7 for getting in touch over there.
PS
At the Cricket Pod, at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to get in touch, a reminder: Patreon is the best way to support the show. Patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. And we'll be back later this week to talk about more cricket. That's what we do. Bye bye.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.